And if we could put up the flag and lead the Pledge of Allegiance, the more of us that mute, the more sense it will make when we say it. Ready? I pledge allegiance
to the
flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and justice for all.
and justice for all.
One of these days, I'm going to digress back to my early childhood before it was changed by Eisenhower.
I think that's before my time.
It is. Okay. Do we have any agenda adjustments?
I have none this evening.
Very good. Then 2.1, to approve the minutes of the March 10th, 2021 Board of Directors meeting.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved
Okay.
and seconded. Any comments, discussions, corrections?
You gave me one correction, Bob, that I will
Yeah,
make.
I had it here just in case.
Yeah. You had sent along to me the next steps. The board wanted to see what A-team removed, not, I will make that adjustment. That was correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So it had already been reviewed by administration, but Joan had asked for us to be able to take a look at what those significant items were.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other corrections, comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Bob,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Robbie,
Yes.
Joan,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie is not here. Andrea, is Andrea here?
I
Yep,
haven't. Oh, yes, she is.
and yes.
Yep. Yes. Joe
Yes.
and Dory.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Probably should have thanked everybody for joining us tonight. I see where our attendance numbers have grown since we started, so that's good. Petitions and communications.
I have none.
I have not received anything either, other than the regular main school management mailings.
Yep.
Reports, the superintendent's report.
I just have a couple of things for tonight. First one was we were talking about it before we started. I spent the morning, I testified in front of the Joint Committee on Taxation for the state legislature. As many of you know, I have a second hat. I am the president of the Western Maine Education Collaborative. One of the things about the WMEC that is a 501c3, however, it does not qualify for tax exempt status. And so, which is bizarre. There are four other collaboratives in the state. They're all run through either one individual school or a university. And so they get tax exempt status, but the WMEC is a little different. And then it has its own tax ID number. And so they don't qualify. And so we submitted a bill, Representative Pickett submitted a bill on our behalf to change the statutory language to allow us to. So I testified in front of the Joint Committee this morning. I think it's a good bill. I think it's a good bill. I didn't get a lot of feedback, but the thing with it is we're a conglomerate or a collaborative of schools that is spending public dollars that should be tax exempt. As I told the committee this morning, the WMEC probably pays about $1,500 a year in state sales tax, which in the midst, in the scheme of the state budget, it's almost nil. But for the WMEC, that's quite a bit of money. And so, I got one question, I think. So I will attend the work session next week, but it was an interesting process. I will say I've never done that before. The other thing I wanted to talk about real quick, I think you saw this week, the federal CDC changed its guidance to 3 feet. It was kind of a misnomer to some degree because the state guidance was already 3 feet. And so, there was a lot of talk about, well, now this means we can open up full time 5 days a week. We're already at 3 feet. We've been at 3 feet this entire time because that's been the state guidance, 6 feet when they're unmasked. for eating and things like that. And that guidance didn't change. It was still 6 feet
Right.
unmasked. So I thought it was just important to talk about that for a minute, because that came out. I was a little frustrated with our the news media outlet, with the way they portrayed that. I was happy that the DOE and the state put out some communication regarding that to kind of parlay the misnomer that had been out there with regards to, well, now we can get open, everybody can open full time, and that's just not the case. So again, our biggest barrier to being full 5-day in-person instruction is physical distancing. I did receive a copy of a letter that a group of legislators sent to the governor and the director and Dr. Shaw today. I will send it. I don't have it here. I can't send it out at the moment, asking the governor and Dr. Shaw to amend, now that the federal CDC has gone to 3 feet, to relax the 3-foot requirement and do away with it in the state of Maine. I don't know what traction that will get. I have no idea. But that was a group of legislators that did that. So, but I will send that out and share it. I don't know that it'll get much of a response, but it is out there. It was quite a lengthy list as well, which I was surprised about. So anyway, that's all I have this evening.
Any questions?
Yeah, Andy, do we have, or are we able to keep track of staff that are vaccinated?
Well, at this point, we're not asking.
Right.
You know, that's a medical decision.
Right.
Now, I will
Right.
say that if we have a case, you know, if we were to have a case and we have to do close contacts, we are asking if people are vaccinated. But at this point, that's not information that we're keeping. Kathy did tell me that NAPE, she's talked about NAPE before, is going to start potentially asking for that information. But at this point, we're not keeping track. That's a personal choice because it's not mandated.
Right.
But I will say, you know, we did put on I was participated in putting on a vaccination clinic in Lewiston. I've been meeting with St. Mary's. There were a group of Androscoggin County superintendents. The state has told us we can't do that again. So, you know, we did have quite a few staff members take advantage of that, which was nice. So, but it was only for 55 plus.
Right.
Yeah. But
Well, I just didn't know whether the requirement now starting today has gone down again.
Yeah.
If what percentage we would know, because I'm just hearing, because we heard about Auburn wanting to open up in mid-April.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's gonna, you know what I mean? Like I said at the last meeting, it's gonna take a few school districts to open up.
Right.
In order to see, you know,
what that looks like. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way Auburn is doing that is a little different. Like at the high school, they're running buddy classrooms. So if you, and Kathy and I actually talked about this last week, she can talk about it a little better. They're also running double bus runs for the high school and the elementary school. I don't exactly know how that's working. But you're right. It's going to take a couple of school districts to fully open up to see, but we aren't at this point keeping track of who's vaccinated or not, unless we get a case and we have to determine close contacts.
right. Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, so no appointments, resignations, or retirements.
Nothing tonight.
So Kathy, Director CAI report.
Yes, so just a quick update about MEA. As I mentioned last time, the MEA is now going to be the NWA. And the administrative team has started this week onboarding, which includes a lot of webinars to get us trained on how to get all our rosters in place and what the professional development will be. I will share in April a calendar of what the testing will look like for our students. Also want to share, I know Becky D'Alessandro is on here, but Our literacy and math coaches have been providing some coffee talks each week on Wednesdays. They're providing weekly professional development to both our professional and our support staff. These sessions are optional, but they're well attended. They cover a variety of topics, and they're also getting really great feedback. So we're just proud of their efforts in providing all these informational sessions and the time to provide it for both our professional and support staff. Also want to share that our team from Oak Hill High School and our design team is presenting at the Barr Foundation. They're the ones that we are in with a grant with WMEC regarding our progress on the Portrait of the Grad project. We will have a full summary report and feedback for you that we can share in the April meeting. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Any questions? I saw in the news some of the universities are no longer even looking at SAT or ACT or anything like that.
Correct. So across the nation, actually had a meeting today with lots of people about SATs and everything and how that there's a lot of colleges out there that are making a commitment that they will not require SATs for the next 3 years, and then they will reassess where that will be. What the trajectory of that will be, we'll soon find out, but it will be looking at different measures for students going forward.
All right. No other questions? Financial report. We received one in our packet.
Yeah,
Probably
well,
on the committee.
yeah, we had a committee report earlier. I'll report underneath the committees.
Right. Okay. Administrators reports, principal reports.
Marco, you want to go first?
Happy to do so. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for a couple of moments to share what's going on at Oak Hill High School. The end of the third quarter is fast approaching. It is ending Friday, which is really hard to believe. So there's a flurry of activity in the building with students and teachers working together to get as many assignments as possible taken care of before that deadline. We have our 8th grade virtual parent night next Thursday, April 1st. No joke. It should be a really good time. We're going to be hosting a Zoom session where we'll have a large number or all of our staff together along with parents and students to just kind of outline, give an overview of the high school. And then we're going to break teams up into breakout rooms, and there'll be a representative from each of the content areas to talk about their specific content area and what 8th graders can expect as they enter Oak Hill High School. So we're looking forward to hosting those students and parents next Thursday. We're looking ahead, obviously, and planning for end of the year events, including graduation and award nights. So we've been in a fair amount of conversation with area schools as to what they're doing, with conversations being had with senior leadership officials this week to kind of round out what our plans will be for graduation and awards nights for the end of this school year. We also are proud to announce that FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America, has once again won their state competition. That is 22 years in a row that they have won that state competition, which is
That's
impressive.
amazing.
It is.
That's something to be proud about.
Absolutely. And want to thank obviously all of the students that are participating in FBLA. There were 49 individual awards that were earned during that state competition. And also want to thank Miss Angela Roy and Miss Erica Federico for their time and efforts in leading those students. So excellent accomplishment there. And also just uploaded onto our social media pages on the Facebook page in particular, Rock Band Concert and our Concert Band Concert. Those were both pre-recorded and then uploaded to, again, the Facebook page. And later on, we'll be doing a short presentation of the virtual Student of the Month ceremonies that we've picked back up over the last couple of months. So those are a couple of things that are happening at the high school to date.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, let's move on.
Ben? Oh, we can't hear you.
I had a better opening than Marco. I'm sorry you couldn't hear that, but thank you for taking a few minutes to listen to what's going on in the middle school and the primary school. I said it the first time was way better than that, but anyway, that's okay. So we are planning for the end of the year at the middle school. We're coming up with a system for us to have an awards night for 8th grade, and hope to make it hope to make it a bigger event than it was last year. We're having step-up meetings in May for the grade levels entering the middle school, and we're pretty excited to see the new students coming up. We're having planning meetings to have the staffs come together at the primary school and the middle school. I've been working with Lee Matthews and talking to Rebecca D'Alessandro about some events we can put into place to make the transition of the new staffs, functional for all of us. We've also have met with the new SPED teacher coming into the middle school to help start planning for special education for next year at the middle school. So
Is that it?
that's keeping it short tonight.
Okay, you just kind of dropped it there. I wasn't quite sure you were done. Are any questions, Mr. Wilson?
If I leave you hanging, you can't ask questions.
All right.
All
Now,
right.
Jamie is not here tonight due to a death in the family, but Mr. Jack is here. I don't know if he would like to share what's been going on in Litchfield.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to take a second to applaud our staff at Libby Tozier and Kerry Ricker. I've observed classes being outside, enjoying this warm weather, whether it's doing read alouds. I observed the music class using 5-gallon pails and doing a drum set routine. A lot of great things happening, and it's just keeping our students engaged. And then lastly, I guess for me, and I'll keep it short too, but Read Across America was a huge hit. And again, Becky D'Alessandro is here tonight to speak about that. So thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Then we would go on to Nancy, Special Ed Director's report.
Yeah, hi, everybody. Well, like Ben said, we're starting to have conversations for meeting student needs next year, as we're planning for some students being in different buildings than we had originally thought. Teachers are starting to have conversations about any special transition planning some kids are going to need, which is really not that different than what we would be doing every year right around this time. I'm continuing to meet with CDS to discuss possible new students who might not even yet be identified, but likely will be. We've started doing observations of some pre-K kids who might not be attending our pre-Ks, but are in other places, whether it be a special purpose pre-K or some other place that we're getting our eyes on. I think I can safely say at this point that we have successfully tackled the enormous task of completing all the evaluations. Our goal was to complete all of those not done from the second half of last year due to not being in person, as well as all of the new ones from this year. And we haven't done all the new ones from this year, but we are easily going to meet that. So that's a big accomplishment. And lastly, we're in the beginning stages of planning for hopefully in-person extended school year services this summer. And hopefully we're going to be coordinating with Camp Rise, which is the gen ed version of summer school, in terms of scheduling so that kids who receive their IEP ordered summer services will also have opportunities to be part of those gen ed summer school opportunities as well. So that's all I've got.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
I just want to interject here for a sec. I really got to commend Nancy and Tammy and our evaluators and our special ed teachers for digging through that. I mean, that was a mountain to climb over. It was the Everest of evaluations. They've really done a fabulous job. So it for anybody that's worked in special education or been involved anywhere with special education, that was a monumental task. And the fact that it's complete and we're up to date in March is impressive. So.
Okay, thank you. Norma Jean, Technology Report.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just letting you know that the technology folks are still supporting the Freckle Challenge for Kathy, still printing lots of freckle items on the 3D printing, hopefully intriguing students to want to do some 3D printing with us when we finally can, either this summer or next year. The vetting process for our instructional technology just finished up last week. So for those of you who are new, every year the teachers get together. This year, just a little bit different configuration where they actually look at the instructional technology tools that they use in their classroom every year. They can put on the list to keep something, to add something new, to remove something, and they can also request if they need professional development on any of those titles, they can do that. So titles are like Freckle, Starfall, Membean, the things that they use in their classrooms to support their students. The E-rate window for us or for everybody ends tomorrow. And so we put out our 470. We got several bids in. We selected our vendor yesterday with the help of Scott. And so this project coming up will be updating our switches in all our closets, so boosting our infrastructure. So some of our switches are holding us back because they're at 100 instead of 1,000. So we'll be upgrading those and also adding some access points to places that may not have a dedicated one. Right now we have wireless access points in all the classrooms, but not necessarily in areas where there's a large population, so maybe adding an extra one in the auditorium at the high school, or an extra one in a gym or a cafeteria, or the weight room at the high school. They requested one, so that's a good thing. As Kathy mentioned, we're attending some exciting jazzy trainings for NWA. They just keep you on your toes the whole time, right, Kathy? Yeah. So we're setting up our systems, we're building the rosters, and we're getting those systems set up, and we're totally jazzed. And like everyone else, we're planning for end of year device collection, all the changes that are happening this summer, just trying to get, as a technology team, us coordinated on everything that has to move and shift so we can coordinate with Glenn and it can be a smooth summer. So we're excited for that too. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you. Jim Palmer, athletic, adult ed?
Yeah. Good evening. I'll start with adult ed. So the adult ed office has been really busy. We've had a significant number of people coming in to HiSET test, which is good. A little bit earlier than I expected. In a typical year, students start to come in around April, May, knowing that we've got a graduation coming up soon, so they try to get in there and test. But so both at Lisbon and Oak Hill, the numbers are really strong. We also have had quite a few sub training. Kathy may speak to that as well, but I've seen quite a few certificates come through for sub training. And we're actually getting ready to put together the touches, like Marco said, on our graduation. We usually do it around the third week in May. I think we're going to bump it a little bit into June this year, just to try to get more people finished. And so that would be another ceremony that will happen in June. As far as athletics, things are really busy with athletics. We just finished up basketball and cheering, and we just started baseball and softball this week. So we had about a week to 2 weeks of in between time for athletes to catch their breath a little bit. But the numbers so far look really strong in baseball. I don't know if you remember, but a few years back we were down to 14, 15 players, struggling to put a JV team together, but we're now up to about 27 that showed up at tryouts this week for baseball. So that's very encouraging. Softball, on the other hand, has hit the cycle that baseball hit about 3 years ago. They're down to 15, 16 girls playing softball. So we're in kind of a rebuilding stage, trying to get those numbers back up. Lacrosse, I anticipate we'll have 25 to 30 athletes playing lacrosse, and girls tennis is a little bit down right now. Hoping that those numbers will improve. But as far as what sports will look like in the spring, it's very encouraging. Looks like we're going to have a regular full season, not a shortened season. And the plan right now with the MPA is to be able to offer playoffs. So we're back to keeping track of heel points and having games that count towards something. And the hope is to have a regular playoff run like we usually do in a non-COVID year. So we're back to having spectators at games as long as we make sure that they social distance and wear masks. So that will be a challenge. I'm looking to be creative as far as because that includes players as well. So we're going to have to extend the dugouts down the foul lines with players because of social distancing. We can't fit 12, 15 people in a dugout. So working on that with other ADs in our conference and across the state. So I think we're gonna be fine. We just have to look how to be creative with it. But that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions?
Jim, are you playing a regular schedule? Because I know with other seasons, it's been like whatever is closest locally. Are you able to do the regular sort of scheduling?
So that's a great question, Jen. We're kind of in a little bit of limbo right now. Originally, before it was lifted that we could now travel a couple counties over if we needed to. We had intended on doing a regionalized schedule and then crossing over with some schools from other conferences like Poland and Gray and St. Dom's. So right now, we're revamping the schedule to try to keep 13 games within our conference and then grab 3 outside of conference that are close by. Like I said, like a Poland, a Gardner, a Gray, New Gloucester, so that we can fill the 16 game schedule and still honor a complete schedule within our conference.
Good, cool.
Any other questions? I'll just mention, I think athletics gives us one of our biggest risk in cross-pollination between cohorts, and with some of the new variances that are really starting to attack younger and younger people. It's going to be, you're going to have to pay a lot of attention, Jim, making sure that the athletic programs maintain the safety requirements and protocols that are necessary at all the time. So on bus rides, you know, everything else is going to come up. And since we're not going to have, you know, we'll be breaking the cohorts for sure. We have a chance to closing down the whole school instead of just half of the school. So just be cautious, that's all.
Yeah, and just maybe just a quick tip or bit of information, Bob. One of the things we looked at transportation of being an issue with baseball, softball, because we typically travel both of those teams to an away site. So we're looking at adjusting that so boys play at home and the girls would play away and vice versa, to limit the amount of people on a bus and the possibility of, you know, more people contracting it. So yeah, I agree. It's going to be a challenge. I think it's going to be, and I'm hoping it's going to be less of a challenge than indoors basketball season. That was extremely challenging. Outdoors is a little bit more manageable, but you're right. And we have all the things in place. We're taking attendance. Kids are wearing, you know, we had trials this week. Kids had masks on. I thought they were a little close to each other at times and said, hey, you need to spread out. So yeah, that's if that's what we have to do, that's what we'll do.
All right, thank you. No other questions? We'll move on to Riley's student rep report.
Yeah, evening everyone. Happy to be here. First 2 things I can speak to is definitely the sports and FBLA. We had our award conference the other day for FBLA. As Mr. Aliberti said, 20-something years in a row is definitely achievement. This was my first year doing it because it got canceled last year, but I definitely enjoyed the experience. And as Mr. Aliberti said, Ms. Roy as well as Ms. Federico do a great job running that, as can be testified by the fact that we've won 22 years in a row. So that was definitely a positive experience. I know for lacrosse, I'm looking forward to that season, as I'm sure all the other spring athletes are, given that it was canceled last season. I share your concern, Mr. English, about the fact of cohort spreading. And how to put this delicately. There are lots of people that I know on the lacrosse team that are not believers in what is going on in the world right now. So I don't know if there's any program we can do, or just getting the word out there that kids my age are not as safe as we might think. So just not to scare people, or not to try to scare the kids, but just try to put a PSA out again, just reminding people that we're in the fourth quarter and not to fumble it right before the goal line. That would be pretty annoying to have a 10-game season and then have it canceled right before playoffs or something. As far as Oak Hill High School goes, I know we extended the schedule since the last time I was in a meeting. Myself, as far as anyone else I've talked to as well, has really seen that as a positive experience. Just being in school that extra hour has definitely helped. It hasn't changed each class by a long period of time, but even an extra 10 to 15 minutes per day in combination with greater connection is definitely something positive. As far as the senior class goes, we're currently working on how we are going to organize graduation, how that will be put together, what it'll look like. We've solidified a lot of the plans, but a few of them around the fine details of what COVID will look like then and how many people might be allowed, we're still ironing out, of course. Other than that, that's about all I got.
Thank you. Any questions? Good luck, Riley, with lacrosse and with your senior year.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Move on to transportation operations. Glenn.
Hi, yes, good evening, everyone. Just got a couple things. Today I met with the building receptionist, as well as a big thank you to Samantha to come down to the middle school today to start to talk about bus runs and what that may look like. I understand it's a little early since we don't have, the registrations in yet, but I thought it pertinent where we're adding 5th grade to the high school, middle school run next year and start to get the ball rolling on that so we can be better prepared for when the school year starts next year. Couple building things. We did get the day tank out at Carrie Ricker repaired. Mr. Labby is keeping an eye on that. We're running that. We're going to leave the temporary tank there for 2 purposes. One, to use up some of the fuel that we do have in it, and also make sure we don't have any other issues with the day tank before we disconnect the temporary tank and run solely off the main tank there. So the plan is by Friday, our hopes that we'll use up that fuel and we won't have any other issues with the day tank, so we can make the switch, and on Friday they can take the temporary tank out. Also, lastly, I didn't mention this at the facility finance committee, so I apologize for that, but as we are rolling into warmer weather, we are gearing up to do spring cleanup. So we'll get the lawnmowers all tuned up and get them ready to go. So we can get outside and start doing some cleanup and start mowing some lawns. So things are looking good there.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, then moving on to other reports. 4.7a, presentation from Becky D'Alessandro, Read Across America. Hope I got your name right, Rebecca.
You did. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Becky D'Alessandro. I'm a district literacy coach, and I work at Libby Tozier this year with the pre-K to 2nd grade students and teachers. I'm pleased to join you this evening to tell you about our recent Read Across America week that we held at Libby Tozier School. Our teachers were really excited and motivated to celebrate this special event that takes place every year in March. So we decided to create an experience for our learners in which they would be immersed in the joy of reading. I know that you've probably heard of Read Across America before, but I'm going to give you just a little bit of background. It was an initiative launched in 1998 by the National Education Association to promote the value of reading to children across the country. This initiative is no longer tied to Dr. Seuss Enterprises. Instead, the NEA has determined that the Read Across America brand is going to be independent of any one publisher, title, or character. So the NEA supports the growing movement of immersing readers in diverse text, and students need books that provide both windows and mirrors if we are going to create more readers, writers, and ultimately people who feel included and recognized and who understand that the world is far richer than just their experiences alone. Guest readers such as Andy Carlton, Kathy Martin, Jamie Ela, Michael Jack, and School Resource Officer Ryan Jones visited our classrooms throughout the week. The teachers and I created an experience for our students where they listened to and read books about powerful topics such as inclusion, perseverance, working hard to achieve goals, and friendship. Our final day of celebration was themed Culture Day, where students dressed to represent their own cultures and listened to stories about children who are different from them, a reflection of our larger, diverse global community. The world and books are filled with many different kinds of people, and getting to know them is interesting, exciting, and fun. I believe that our work to make this event happen at Libby Tozier this year helped motivate our kids to read and celebrate the diversity in our community and in our country. So I'd like to play just a brief slideshow of our week for you to see. That video showed teachers reading, our secretary, our ed tech staff, our principals, superintendent, assistant superintendent, substitutes, our music teacher was reading. It was a pretty powerful experience.
Thank you. Any questions? It looks like they probably had a good time, even the readers. Or I should say, it looked like they had a good time, probably even the students.
I will say, you know, it's one of the most rewarding things I've done all year. Just being able to get in and be with kids like that is a whole different ballgame. It really is. It was pretty enjoyable. So.
All right. Thank you very much. 4.7B, presentation from Chad Druin on the virtual State of Maine Assembly at Oak Hill High School.
So Chad isn't with us tonight, Bob. So I'm just going to speak briefly and then turn it over to Sam. It's a tough act to follow, I'll say, you know, when you have a bunch of cute kids reading books to then switch to Student of the Month Assembly at the high school. But obviously it looks like they had a fantastic time, and nice work, everybody, for putting that together. But we're just going to take a minute to highlight one of our activities that we do at the high school on the regular during normal times, and that's Student of the Month Assembly. It's just a celebration of the hard work that students have undertaken during the month, and so this year it's taken on a new twist just because we aren't able to gather in the gym and do the different activities that we normally do. So Sam actually has a brief clip and a couple of things to say about it, so I'll turn it over to her. Sam?
Sure. So I will say that, when I started at Oak Hill last year, the Student of the Month Assembly was one of the things that I found like most compelling or most inspiring about Oak Hill High School. And it was tough to, kind of see it go with COVID. So to have some creativity from our staff to bring this back in some form and to be able to celebrate our students and have that positive note, kind of routinely month to month was special. So this is just a clip of our kind of school-wide Google Meets call that we use for Student of the Month. And it'll just give you a taste of what it was like or what it is like.
In their classrooms, if you would like, and those are the freshmen that were nominated for Student of the Month. And so now what we're gonna do, in place of our Chuck-a-Duck, we are going to do a wheel spin to see who wins a gift card out of all those nominees. Let me share my tab. Hopefully this is gonna work and I don't have to present it on my whiteboard. Here we go, I'm sharing. Does everybody see that? Does everybody see the wheel? Can somebody unmute yourselves and say, I see the wheel? Can you do that, please? Okay, so everybody see. Okay, so you should all see the wheel here, and I entered all those names that I just read off. And so we're gonna spin this, and whoever wins this spin needs to come to room 104, and my very best friend, Miss Cloutier, will have a Fielder's Choice gift card for you. Here we go. Here's the spin. This is in place of Chuck-a-Duck. Oh, Ian Sheehy. Ian Sheehy, come on down to room 104, please. You have won a Fielder's Choice gift card. Come to 104 to grab that at this.
So that's just a glimpse of, the celebration that we did during our Reader Connection period. And we have one for our cohort A and C students, and we have one for our cohort B and D students as well. And it's just, an opportunity for something positive and celebration that, it just seems like we haven't had enough of lately. And our staff, like I said, have done a really good job. And I think, that little video snippet also gives you a glimpse into some of the technology that we are putting in place in the school too. So thanks for letting us share that.
All right. And I see that a kickback to abbreviations and acronyms. So I read it as State of Maine, having been a State of Maine employee instead of Student of the Month. So
well, make sure to spell it out in full next time. I share that feeling about and sentiment about acronyms.
it was really tough for me initially because I'd recently retired from the Navy, and the military has, a bunch of them, maybe not as many as education. So there was a lot of crossovers. All right, thank you very much. Was there any questions on the presentation? All right, 4.8, comments from the floor, public comment period. So with that being said, before we open it up, this is a time when members of the community can address the board on issues pertaining to the school system. It's not a time where we set apart to where we have lengthy discussions or discussions at all. It's a time for you to voice your opinion. The opinions cannot be derogatory towards any individual identified, but if you want to thank somebody or recognize somebody for a good job, that's fine also. We ask that you also don't mention any students' names. Can't stop a parent from mentioning their own, but we would prefer student names not be discussed and keeping that privacy. So the way you would be able to address it is you can raise a hand. I think if you go down to the bottom where it says participants, click on that. Then down near the end of the list of participants, there's one that says raise your hand. Or you can go to the chat box and chat. All the chats will be seen only by the superintendent, who will then call on somebody, and then we can unmute them. If you raise your hand, the superintendent will see that and will be able to call on somebody and allow you to speak. So this tries to keep it a little orderly and move along, but also give you an important opportunity to go and comment on the school system that you shall graciously support.
I don't have any hands raised at this point, and I do not have any chats, but I would suggest we give it a little longer.
I will say that it is the board's policy over the years. It's not an official policy, but it's just a practice, I guess, more than policy, is that when we have issues further on down the agenda where it might be appropriate for the public to speak, that the board chair, typically after the board has done their discussions, open it up in case any community members have a comment they would like to make about the item.
Dodie Johnson has sent me a question. So Dodie, if you would like to speak, you can unmute and do that.
Yeah, I was just curious if there has been any talk about getting the kids with learning plans, like the 504 IEP kids, back into school a little more.
Do you want me to take this, Bob, or how do we want to do
Yeah,
that?
I mean, not a lengthy discussion, but if need be, it can be offline also as well, but I guess a quick response. We're
Yeah.
always looking at kids more back in school.
Yeah, we are. The quick answer is yes, we are talking about how to do that on a case-by-case basis. So my recommendation would be to call your child's building principal and start that discussion.
Yeah, we've tried that.
Okay. Why don't have you talked to Nancy? That would be another place to go as well.
No, I think we're going to have to, because we're definitely seeing, without the OT support and things like that, it's been a real challenge, and we're definitely seeing setbacks. And I'm sure I don't have the only child like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think calling Nancy would be a good thing. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Roman Lincoln.
Any others?
That's the only one I have, and I don't have any hands up at this time.
All right, I think that it's probably been an ample amount of opportunity. If somebody thinks of something later on, put it in the chat, and the superintendent will see it, and we may be able to address it. Okay, moving on to old business. 5.1, discussion of the 2021 to 2022 school budget.
All right, so we left off, I presented first. Well, I presented the budget last time. I did send out this week a budget update, but I'd like to give that here. As some are aware and some maybe not, the budget is an ever-living document this time of year. There are always changes. I think, the biggest thing that happened this week was that we got the cap for health insurance. So when I say cap, we don't know what our rate is going to be, but we now know what the maximum rate is going to be. And the maximum increase is going to be 4.2%. We had budgeted a little over 9%. So it allowed us to take some more money out with regards to benefits. And so and I'll share my screen if anybody wants to see this live. I've got the budget, a live document of the budget ready to go. So currently, as the budget currently stands, with that money removed, the draft budget is $19,557,484, which represents a 0.02% decrease from the current school year, or it's about 3,800 or so less than the current school year that we're in. The biggest question of that is, what is the impact to our 3 towns? So if you remember at the last meeting, the impact for Litchfield was around $150,000. On a $100,000 home, that was about $41 a year. With the cuts, with that newest change to the budget, the impact to Litchfield is $129,000 and some change. $100,000 home, a little over $35 per year. For the year. In Sabattis, when I presented 2 weeks ago, it was almost $191,000. With the change in health insurance, it's down to $166,424. The first draft that I presented to you on a $100,000 home was $66 a year. Now it's down to $57.59. And in Wales, the first draft, the impact to the town of Wales year over year was $84,369. It's now down to $75,399. First run was 7152 over the year for $100,000 home. It's now 6384. You know, again, I presented and we had said any issue, anything you guys would like to look at, we would look at today. You know, Joan and all had asked, you know, what to look at, what the administrators, what the A-team had taken out before it got in here with teacher requests. There was nothing. This was a pretty need-based budget. So there really wasn't anything that the A-team took out that were teacher requests before it came to all of you. You know, I don't know what you want to see tonight, what you want to talk about, but I'm more than willing to throw the budget up on my screen and we can take a look at it. I turn it over to you guys.
So getting back to Joan's request, initially you went and said the budget that initially came to you was really, really high, something you couldn't present.
Yeah.
And I think that difference of what was there versus what you brought to us was kind of the question that Joan was looking to have answered.
I think one of the things that was there, the biggest new addition in that 600, and it was around 600,000, was the performance contract, the payment on the new performance contract. Everything else increase wise in that budget was the technology refresh that we took out, as well as salary and benefits, and that's it. There was nothing other new than that.
Okay. Any questions, any items that people would like to discuss? I have a couple observations, I guess. I appreciate the way that the spreadsheet was sent, so it didn't have all the links in it and everything, so I could copy it, paste it in, and then I could use my secondary copy to do the various sorts that I do on values, just to see what's increasing the most and what's increasing the less. But one thing that kind of caught my eye, I thought strange, was on several of the items where salary went up, the amount of FICA percentage wise. So, you know, we're talking percentage. The amount of FICA went up really high.
Okay.
So like we have one where the FICA went up 39.5%, but the salary was only up 4.8%.
Okay, I'm going to have to turn that one over to Scott to address that.
And there are those in multiple places in the workbook. All right. So that example happens to be line 150 and line 144.
Okay.
So, but that, you know, there are multiple places where that is, and it just seemed to be, I guess, a little out of whack from what I expect. I expect when salary for those two items is going to go up, FICA will go up, maybe not quite as much because there is a cap, but we shouldn't be hitting that cap on our employees per se.
Well, one of the things, if you look at 150, Bob, and I don't want to talk over Scott, but if you're talking about 150, we had a change in location there, and change in deductions too, but I'll turn that
but it's tied to link 144, which shows a salary increase. So, but you know, I don't know, just something to check out. I mean, it's not big dollars on any one of them.
Yep.
But it just, to me, just doesn't seem like, when I see the things where I don't think the formulas are quite tracking the way I think they should be, I wonder if that's in other places as well.
Sure. Yeah,
I can definitely take a look at that.
Yeah.
And why do we pay Main State retirement on stipends?
You want to
Isn't that a Social Security type function?
It's still, if it goes to a teacher, it is Main State retirement. That's what we have to do. Or even in ed tech, yes. We don't pay up to everybody.
All right, so if the stipends is, all right, so they become part of the salary then?
Yes.
For retirement purposes for staff members?
Yes. Yes, Bob, you're correct.
Not a staff member, then Social Security is taken out.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Then we had a line. Oh, it was the, under an improvement of instruction. There's a line there that went up $5,000 supplies or something, an 83% jump increase.
Yep.
It just seemed like a big jump for supplies since so many other supply lines have gone down because we use COVA funds.
But I think, and Andy, I don't know if you have it in front of you, there was just some money that went from one line to the other, 5,000 less, if I remember correctly, and it was moved to another line.
I'm in there right now. Kathy, do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so my overall improvement instruction didn't, in fact, it decreased with the tuition.
Right.
But, I just moved 5,000 from one area to the other, and it's just how we're paying some of our programs that are coming up. So for example, we replaced some of our science, moving the 5th grade up, and we're just preparing to do some more STEM activities, which would include the supply items versus the books for those students at the middle school.
Okay. And then I think it might be line item 1064. It has $0 this year, $0 last year, but shows a $500 or $5,000 increase.
You got to get in there.
And I think that had for charter fees.
What line was that, Bob, again? 1064?
Might have been 1064. That note I didn't write out all the way.
Okay, we don't have charter fees anymore. We had it a few years ago when we had to pay the charter schools, so there shouldn't be anything there now.
Yeah, there was nothing there except that in the line, the total for increase, there's a value.
Yeah, there is a value there. It says 500%, which is bizarre. I'm actually, well, there's
how
no,
that might figure into the bottom, because when you look at total increase at the bottom,
there's actually no formula tied to that cell. It just says 500%. So I don't think it's impacting anything, but we'll take a look at that one too.
all right. So those are the things that I just kind of brief observations. I mean, I did a search and looked at the highest percentages and highest total values, and they're mostly all in salary or stipends. Stipends showing 47% increases, 38% increases, huge increases in stipends amounts. But I think we know that we passed a new stipend schedule 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And then, you expect to see it in salaries because that's where our money is. It's in the important people that we have doing the job of educating our students and maintaining our buildings and providing the services that are done there. So those made sense for the most part. And then when I flip it the other way and look at where we're spending the least amount or the biggest decreases, they seem to make sense too. They're just the supply. A lot of stuff that's gone to COVA. I'm a little concerned, as I think I might have voiced, on the items that are marked COVA, especially in supply lines, unless they are, what are we going to do when the COVA funds are done? They're going to come back in the budget. There's an amount of money in there for various things that will probably be back in the budget at some time in the future and will maybe hit us then. But as long as we can use these other funds, then we should do that. There's no sense to raise the money when we have the funds available.
Well, and I will say to that point, nobody wants to intentionally create a cliff. That, Scott and I have talked about this at length, and we have as an A team too, to some degree. At the end of the day, though, given the situation that we were in, using these funds to the best of our ability to be able to offset tax increases was I think the right call. One of the things that we've done is try to be really smart with these funds about how we use them. I like the newest funds that have come in, I haven't earmarked all of them so that, and I have to write an application and it get approved, but we're keeping flexibility there so that we can hopefully string these out for a couple of years so that hopefully times get better and we're able to, bring these back in when it makes sense. We've got some more flexibility with the funds. And that's why we've tried to be really smart at how we use them. So we've got them longer than just one-shot deals. So.
All right. Anybody else have any questions, comments, anything they want to see? Happy with the budget?
I'm pretty happy with it, Bob, and I want to, commend Andy and the A team and the staff for presenting us a budget that was pretty neat and clean.
Okay.
I would agree. And I guess to just reiterate the fact that every time we have an audit done, the auditors commend us on running a very tight marginal budget. And that works either way. It works really well in keeping, making sure that we're accountable to the taxpayers of the towns, but it also can work against us when we have emergencies or situations like this. So I think, acknowledging doing a great budget and just being mindful of carrying those funds forward, I think is going to help to try to keep things sustained as much as possible for all of the kids.
Okay, so then the next steps would be to more finalize the budget.
Yep.
And
So-
just make sure, because we'll have to vote to approve the budget, to send it out. We're just going to vote to send it out to the voters. So if the board is ready to look at that presentation and possibly act on that next week, or in 2 weeks, I'm sorry, then we can put that on the agenda if that works out all right for Randy and Glenn. And then we have some difficulty making sure, but we did it already last year, is getting all the signatures. So,
yeah,
you'll have to respond with your signature.
Yeah,
Correct.
we can do that same process we used last year. One thing that's important to note, we had originally said we were going to hold our budget referendum on June 15th. Litchfield has set their date as June 8th, so I would recommend we back up to June 8th. I don't think it's fiscally responsible for us to hold a referendum outside of when one of our towns is going to. So I would recommend we go with June 8th as our referendum day. But certainly we can put it on the next budget for a vote, finalize the presentation, and we can start that process.
All right, that June 8th will work for Wales, Sharon? Thank you. Okay.
Andy, if we get any feedback from the town selectmen or anything?
Well, I had coffee in Wales. Was it last week, Sharon? God, the days are running together. I've talked to a couple of selectmen in Wales. They, as Randy said to me the other day, you've done the best you can with what you have to work with. Paul said the same thing. I met with Tony Ward. We got together 2 weeks ago. Like he said to me, I don't know how this is going to go, but given the situation, you've done pretty well. And I did speak to Mark. What was that, 2 weeks ago, Vicky? God, like I said, days are running together, and Mark seemed pretty happy with the work that we'd done to get it where it started to where it was. Like I said, and I thank you for the praise. At the end of the day, we've got a great team in RSU 4. We just do. And when I say team, I'm talking about administrators, I'm talking teachers, bus drivers, custodians, secretary. I mean, I could name them all that really, come to work every day and try to do amazing things with probably less than some of their counterparts do in other places. And yet they are so creative and so responsive to the needs. But yeah, that's the feedback I've gotten so far, Robbie.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
No other comments, then we will move on. All right, new business 6.1 to approve the RSU number 4 2021-2022 school calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
So I hope you all saw the first calendar that went out was not the right one. The first one that went out was a draft that I had put together for when we met with the as you all know, we have to come in line with the LRTC calendar. So we meet as sending superintendents to draft a calendar together. We can be no more than 5 days out of compliance with what, and that 5 days means 5 days for all 6 school districts. So if Lisbon has 4 days and we have 3, we're out of compliance. All 6 sending schools are out of compliance. And so we got together. My original draft had us starting earlier, but I got outvoted on that one. And so consequently, we will, I met with Heather and Ben, the co-presidents of the association, to go through this as part of the meet and consult process. We would have our first in-service days August 30th and 31st, and the first day of school would be September 1st.
All right. Any questions? So when I look at, first of all, I would like to see it starting on September 7th so that we don't have a holiday in there. However, we seem to always bring the kids back for 1 or 2 days and then send them off for a long weekend. And parents got to bring all their kids back from summer vacation a week earlier than they would have otherwise. But that being said, I noticed on this recent calendar you sent that there are no dates behind the school board member meetings.
We haven't set a calendar yet. I will be bringing that at the next meeting, and when we set the school board meeting calendar dates, I will put it into this calendar.
All right, because I didn't really want to approve this one without dates because that approves this calendar as presented.
Yeah, and I mean, I can take them out. I mean, we can amend to take those things off here, but when we approve our meeting schedule, I will put them back in. That's why I left them there, but didn't have dates beside them.
Okay. It's going to say the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays, right?
Yeah, it will be, but the dates are kind of off. Sometimes we end up meeting the 3rd Wednesday in August to meet before school starts to do the organizational meeting. So it doesn't always perfectly fall that way. It's also because, you think about November, December, February, sometimes we only have 1 meeting. So,
right.
Yep. I was going to bring that to you at the next meeting.
All right. Any other comments or discussion on the school calendar? Seeing none, then we'll call for the vote.
All right. Bob?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
Stephanie's absent. Andrea?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Dory?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you all.
All right, thank you. Move down to committee reports. Finance and Facilities Committee.
Yep, the Finance and Facilities Committee met today at 5:45, and we started the discussion with the update for the architects for the addition, and we'll be presenting the architect to the full board in the first meeting in April, Andy?
Yes.
At the first meeting in April for
that's the hope. Hopefully we can
Yep.
schedule them. Yeah.
Yep, that's the hope, because we haven't scheduled with them yet. And you heard the update on the budget from Andy. We also talked about, this is our last year of copier contracts, and Scott said that those are going great. And then for the revenue side, we have received 67.12% of the budget, and we have expended 64% of the budget. And there's a little bit bigger gap between the expenditure and the revenue side. So that's looking pretty good, and that's as of February 28th. And on the facility side, the day tank at at the Libby Tozier has been repaired. And like Glenn said, we're just running down the temporary fuel in the temporary tank before we switch over. and start working off our old repair tank, and he started working on bus routes for next year. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? All right, seeing on Personnel Policy Committee.
All was quiet. We didn't have any policies and we didn't have any personnel to check out.
Okay, anybody have any questions of Joan, just for the heck of it? All right. Then we'll move on to the CAI Technology Committee.
We did not meet, and I'm guessing that Kathy will have further information about Camp Rise at the next meeting.
All right, board member comments. I will just mention that, you know, it's been a long year. Let's don't make it any longer by letting up our guard too soon. So let's, you know, take care of our charges, keep them safe, keep them educated, and or get them educated, and so that we'll be able to move on and get back to a more normal school environment in the future.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That being said, if there's no other school board comments, there are no executive sessions scheduled for tonight. And so if there's not objection, I'll declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you all. It's nice to see
Thank you.
everyone. I'll see you in
Thank
2 weeks.
you.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Joy. Be safe.
Good night, everyone.
Yes.
Everybody in the public, thank you.
Good
for
night.
God bless.